Altcoin Annihilation. Today we're going to break down 20 tokens or so that you guys should take a look at that could be on the near-term move. So check it out. We're going to get started here. I do want to thank our sponsor, and that is Tangem. This is where you can store those tokens that we're going to talk about today in self-custody. And the way you do it is you go over to tangem.com right now, get a 3-card set, and then you start your self-custody journey. If you've never done self-custody before, don't fear. It is very easy to get started, and I think once you do this once, you're going to say, why haven't I been doing this all along? Use our link down below. It gives you a little bit of a discount. All right, so I want to go to this tweet right here. This is kind of a panic test. It came in from Miles Docher. He's talking, if you had tokens and they just liquidated overnight magically into Tether or USDC, whatever it would be, a stablecoin, what would you do the next day? If you would instantly repurchase it, then hold it, okay? If you wouldn't touch it, then you need to be selling it. And then, of course, if you would say, oh, I'm only going to buy half, well, then there you go. There's your answer, guys, on your panic sell for tokens out there. And I think a lot of people start to look at what could be the winners here going into a market meltdown like what we're dealing with right now. Polygon could be on the front line here. And, of course, part of this is coming in with now mainstream adoption. We saw Polymarket make its way onto South Park, which is kind of interesting. Will this be enough of a catalyst to drive interest in Polygon, the token? That's the real question mark. If you look at just some of the activity right here from Kalshi data, and also what we're looking at with Polymarket, we continue to see upward trends here. So all of this definitely kind of intriguing on Polygon. Let me know in the comments down below if this would be a token you guys would get into. One other thing to kind of consider is Polygon around small payments. And if you look at the activity, right here, what we're dealing with is mostly Polygon here. So, and that's in, fairly lower transaction numbers. And if you think about that in terms of use case, especially with the fees that are very, very low, this could be one of the things that really accelerates Polygon. One other note, if you look at Solana and Polygon kind of fighting it out here, if you just look at the Pokemon TGC here in terms of Solana, they have now overtaken Polygon overall when it comes to just the weekly revenue. So this, again, maybe good for Solana as it plays into this. But one thing, another good reason why these are two tokens that could be in your portfolio, whether you're holding them right now or not. Other things to think about when you look at Phygitals is they are going all in on actual players. So this is starting to change the game a little bit. So it's an index made of trading cards, metrics, memorabilia, etc. One other thing to note here is xStocks, just with this interesting event that just kind of came out of nowhere. And I'm wondering, we were supposed to interview the xStocks CEO, so I'm wondering if they're delaying that interview to possibly set up for what's going to happen here on the 2nd. Now, this is just a few days away. It's in Singapore at the JW Marriott. Is there going to be a big announcement? So when you look at tokenized stocks, Tesla's still #1, and there's a reason, I think, when you kind of consider here, I'll kind of zoom in on this, there's xStock, Ondo, etc. Point being is that this is very aligned with crypto, and I think kind of this whole belief of, doing good for and starting to shift a particular market, that I think is alignment perfectly for Tesla stockholders along with Bitcoin and in general, crypto holders as a whole. If you look at other things that are happening out there, Tesla owners, and look at the size of this Tesla account. That's 1.3 million followers right there. But again, they partnered with a Solana-based D-Charge. This is going to allow anybody to turn their idle space into a community-owned EV charger. That could be big. Another big opportunity here, again, that drives Solana. Solana, an excellent buy under the $200. Again, not financial advice, but definitely on the right position. Other things you got to look at right here was this announcement by Solana 4. A Backpack Exchange just announced that they would be doing free trading up to $1,000. So free trading fees waived, and all of that's available on your Solana over on your Seekers. Solana falls under $200. So is this the time to get in on this? We'll chart this here in a minute to kind of take a look. Because this, I think, is still a very undervalued project with everything that is going on. And you look at just what's going on right now, you've got Shanghai accelerate, that's the, plus you've got Beijing happening. Then it starts to move into Breakpoint, which is in Dubai in early December. So on the lookout, usually this is when big announcements are made. in the Solana ecosystems. Other things I want to get into is Avalanche. Now, Avalanche is moving for many reasons, and you guys have seen this in the DEX activity right here. You can kind of see right here, I'll zoom in on that. They flipped hyperliquid. So that in itself, good news for Avalanche. And as Avalanche finally started to move, now there's been a couple of announcements here recently with Avax. Obviously the DAT, the digital asset treasury with Scaramucci, that will be a big one. And the fact that we've seen Avalanche start to move here, flipping SUI. Are they targeting hyperliquid, especially if you think about hyperliquid and what's happening with Astar? Could that suck some of hyperliquid's fuel and possibly put Avax up a notch or two? Be on the lookout for that. Other things you kind of have to consider right now is this right here is Tokyo Game Show. A lot going on there. Could Avalanche launch or announce something over there? Another thing, Hideo Kojima breaks minds. This is a big credit card program. The key is that they've done it with Mitsubishi Financial Group, which is MUFG, and it's only locked into Japan. So this is one of the things, if we start to see a crypto credit card make its way into the market, especially backed by Kojima, that could be big news overall. One of the consideration here is Coinbase. Remember, they partner with MUFG for a Japanese expansion. And then simply meaning this particular bank has a lot of exposure to crypto in general. Here's Sony investing in tokenization in Securitize. But if you look further into this, the round was led by not only Santander, but also MUFG. And then you get into a lot of other holdings like Nomura, as well as assets from Ripple. So all this could tie together. So when you consider the Soneium chain and the fact that this is going to initiate within the Japanese markets, then you have to consider Optimism, because this will essentially be the chain that is going to run within the Japanese markets. And growth right here has been pretty significant in general in terms of transaction count. So with Soneium, now you've got another platform here with Ronin that is coming to Optimism soon. And if you look at their transactions hovering right around 500,000 right there, 600,000 on the 24th of September. That, of course, starts to lean into this right here. And this is just all of the roll-ups. Look at the amount of OP stack that is listed here. This is insane. And even if you look at OP in general as potentially a strategic reserve, because remember, Optimism holding in right there at number 19. So, and remember, their tokenomics quite a bit different than, say, Arbitrum. So, all right, so let's jump over to XRP for a minute. XRP to power Japanese tokenized real estate revolution. These guys are, and I say Ripple, are tied into all of the banking ecosystem inside Japan. And even MUFG was listed here as part of this. So remember, that's the nation's largest bank. So also another thing to look forward to on XRP, as you'll remember, is the recent launches by both Flare and Axelar in the ability to stake and also earn yields, loans, all sorts of new tools within the XRP ecosystem. And it's just getting going. Those just launched last week and this week. So get ready for some big movement within XRP. If XRP gets around the 250 mark, could be another place to gobble up some. Let's get into SUI. SUI's got some interesting things here. We've talked about this and kind of hinted this before. And remember, a podcast link was shared. This was in reference to Christian Thompson. He's a managing director over there. And he says, we have Pokemon that's coming. If that is even close to something that is happening, then SUI could be well undervalued. If you just look at the DeFi Llama here, you can kind of see here with SUI flipping Unichain. Let me kind of zoom in on that right there from number 10 to number 9. So another bullish signal. During the events of Korea and Japan, you also had this news come in from SUI, which is talking about a new device. Now this is kind of a wellness device. It's a ring that's going to be tracking all sorts of health metrics that's going to be end up being stored, your data, on Walrus Protocol, which is a big deal because that's an opportunity going forward. If you look at their website, this is just the example. So if you're trying to maybe play for an alternative to Solana, then this is maybe where SUI comes into play, because this is a good example of the partnerships that are starting to develop, has a lot of alignment with what we've seen with Solana. So an example with Kudus right here definitely plays into that. But that's not all with SUI. One other thing that could play into this would be the idea of payment, especially in retail. Retail, this is a table ordering system called T-order or toter. But what you're looking at is that right there. That's the device that basically allows you to pay at the table. That's kind of the concept. And you know, I wasn't really thinking that this was as big of an operation until I started doing some review of this. 8 countries, 280,000 tablets, 17,000 businesses, and I don't think they're in the United States yet. So this would be huge if we started to see this expansion here in the US and the ability to do crypto payments at the table. So that's another reason why SUI might be in the right place at the right time. Just an example right here on one of the statements that they made, processing about 350 million in monthly transactions, 4.3 billion annually, and these guys are just getting started. All right, let's move on to Uniswap. And what I want to focus on here is Hayden Adams, CEO. Always funny to see people bear post Uniswap. Mainly what they're talking about, guys, is, let's just be honest. You'll notice that the statements here, everybody's upset. There's no fees coming back to the users. And if you guys remember, this is a big deal. We're not bear posting. We're just bear posting Uni the chain. And the reason is because all of this is irrelevant if we don't get revenues turned on. And that's what everybody is upset about. The minute that those revenues are turned on, I think you're going to see Uniswap do an about face. One other consideration, if you just look at holder revenue right here, because this is exactly what we're talking about. If Uniswap starts sharing the revenue with holders, that is going to get them on the list. But look who's here. You got Pump there, Tron's there, Hyperliquid, Aerodrome, Jupiter. Where is Uniswap? This should be one of the biggest ecosystems in the world that would be leading this list, I think, if they actually turn this on, and they claim that this is going to happen. So the statement is, in summary, Uniswap fee switch proposal, which has been approved, sometime within mid to late 2025 is when these fees would be turned on. The minute that occurs, get ready. I think you're going to see a lot of retracement on Uniswap for sure. As altcoins get annihilated, there's one thing that is going up, and we've talked about this. We had a big video on this last week. Go back and watch it. It was with Andy Sheckman, and this was the very point we were hitting on. Was it last week or the week before? The point being, about 10 days ago, we said this is going to happen, and this is this whole idea of the gold to silver ratio. Silver was starting to position against it. It has now happened. We're starting to see silver on the move, and of course, this plays into what you're seeing right there. $45 out. If we hit 50 on silver, that's where it could get very interesting, because that would be blue sky for silver. We haven't seen that number before. Just another way to diversify your portfolio out there, guys. Be on the lookout. And then, of course, stablecoins, you know. Just buy Ethereum, guys. Look at this. This is the stablecoin lead chart right there, continuing. And stablecoins, we know, are going to be implemented. So long-term, be on the lookout for all of this. If you take a quick look at the charts, there's Ethereum down under the 4K mark, bumping into 3,900. This may come into this zone around 34 to 35. That's a zone that at least I'm watching. Is that another entry point for Ethereum for you? Let me know in the comments. Other things you want to keep an eye on, of course, Solana cratering down to just under 200 and dipping down to around 193. So this may be a spot for Solana right now as it starts. Now, if it goes beyond this, next real zone is going to be somewhere around 150 to 170. Be on the look for that one. SUI, of course, I still think huge buy here, opportunity. And again, this is when the market is trending down. Again, not financial advice, but if you're looking to try to take advantage of some of these, I'd only stay in the top 20. That's what we kind of focused on today. Avalanche, of course, nice big run up, a little bit of a retracement down here under 30 bucks again, possibly still a buy here. And then beyond that, you have to look at, well, actually, let's go over and look at XRP, because this is one that I think could be very interesting. Right here is XRP. If we see this slip down to around 250, that's the zone right there that we may see a lot of load up on, even though the next real order selection's around $2. Let's jump over to Uniswap real quick. I want to just measure from this bottom where we are right now to its local top. That's about a 66% retracement. We get the announcement, I think you're going to see those kind of things. Silver, let's dive into silver right there. Of course, you can kind of see it. Silver now pressing all-time high around 40 bucks. It's likely if we get $50 on this, this is going to be pretty interesting to watch. All right, you guys, make sure and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. And of course, leave some comments down below. Follow me out there on X, @Paul Barron. We'll catch you next time right here on the Paul Barron Show.